Okay, so welcome to the Charlotte Amateur Radio Society N1MM Morse Runner setup meeting. Going to catch a video of this, so those who miss it, maybe we'll get a chance to get it back to them. So we're going to start from the point of a person who's just installed N1MM, and it'll pop up with the main entry window. First time install, it's going to prompt you for some station information. And I'll show you. That's going to look like this. And you set up anything you need to in here. For Morse Runner's purposes, it's not going to use any of this. We're going to set up our station information in Morse Runner to start with. But, you know, for in general purposes, it's going to push you to put a CQ zone and an ITU zone. It's really pesky about that. It'll nag. So you kind of got to work through that. But once that is all settled down, you should have this window. And if you just installed the full install version, you're going to be a few updates away from being current. So the next thing you'll want to do is under Tools, way down here, check for new program version and install. And I upgraded mine, so it's telling me I'm the latest. Don, if you're running the full install, you may have to do this a couple of times. It'll nag you.
Can you hear me?
Till you get through that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay. All I see is your screen.
Okay. Yep. So at this point, we'll have Morse Runner running and hopefully the latest version. And then a couple of, let me know when you're ready to move on, Don. I'll give you a chance to get
I'm just trying to, first thing we're going to do is to get Morse Runner running, right?
Yep.
All right.
And do your station, configure your station data.
Yeah, I'll do all that.
Yeah, it'll nag you here. Then do a Tools, check for new program version, and install. And that's for what the download and all of that will take about 60 seconds, and you kind of have to prompt your way through it a little bit.
Okay.
So we're sitting here with Morse Runner running. We've set up our station information, and we're running an up-to-date version. Next, we want to go to File and New Database. And I would recommend something along these lines. I've already created it. This file, Morse Runner .s3db, that's where I do my practicing. So I don't mix practice QSOs with real QSOs. So create something along the lines of practice or whatever, Morse Runner, whatever you like, and create that database.
Dennis, can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So when I set my Morse Runner practice database, I already have one. And when I click on it, it says it already exists. Do you want to replace it?
Yeah, you don't need to. If you have it out there, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You know, I'm illustrating it for Don because he probably doesn't have one yet.
Right, understood. Just perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready to proceed, Don.
Oh yeah, you may proceed.
Okay. So now we have a database called, I'm going to open that database. So now when I come back to File, okay, I'm going to blow through that So when I come back to file, and this will be the first time, we're going to create a new login database, and you should see the practice database name that you created.
Mm-hmm.
And that new log will have the entire log list of contests to choose from, but we want to use CQ Worldwide CW, CQWWCW. This new version's been throwing this little error. I've already posted it to the N1MM Groups IO, so if you get something like this, just okay it. If it keeps coming back, you can copy it to clipboard and drop it in their Groups IO so the team knows there's an issue. But for me, we're just going to ignore it. So I'm going to open a contest for the type for a new log under CQ Worldwide. CW. Okay, we're going to do single op high power assisted. It should give you, this is your CQ zone. So the exchange for this particular contest is 599 in CQ zone. And the N1MM side of this should take care of it. However, under the associated files tab, there's a few things we want to do. When you go here the first time, if you just see a default CW function key file name, you can hit change. It will go out to the N1MM website and it'll find the best match. You can say download and install it. And the other one that's important is your call history file name. You'll want to change that, and that will go out and find the call history file from CQ, the last CQ Worldwide CW contest. You see here it's dated November 11th, or I'm sorry, yeah, November 24th, 2023. So that's the last contest. It will grab that call history file, and that'll be one of the help databases that we're going to use, just like we'll be using the one for last winter field day in a couple weeks. And I'll show you how where these come into play when we get into it. So we'll do that.
Dennis, can you just run back through where we find that information again? The screen.
Sure. Cancel. So we come back to File, and we're going to create a new login. And now this is first time setup.
Right.
Create a new login database and make sure the database is the practice database that you set up. Click on that, and then first thing you got to do is tell it what contest, and that is
right.
CQ Worldwide CW. Don't worry too much about this. Get your CW function key file up to date, and get your call history file up to date.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And then you can say okay. So now I've got a new CQ Worldwide log in my Morse Runner practice database. Now you don't have to do that. Once it's done once, you don't have to do it all the time, every time you practice. You can come back in and say open login database, and it'll show the ones that are in the database. You can just click on it, say okay. And then if you have contacts in the log from your last practice, just wipe log. And then you've got a clean log again. You know, for practice purposes, you know, what I do is I keep track of how many QSOs I process over a period of time, and I record that in my practice log. Otherwise, I have no use for what's in the log. I just wipe it and start fresh every time I practice.
What is accomplished by loading the last CQ Worldwide CW database? Where does that come from?
That's actually, there's a whole bunch of contesters out there that work together, and at the end of every contest, every big contest, They will compile the activity history for the contest, which will include call sign and exchange. And that becomes the call file for the next go round.
Okay.
And I'll show you how we're going to use that, but just hold that thought. Okay, now let's do the next item. Let's go back to tools. There's another database we want. Under tools, we want to come down 1, 2, 3 to download and install latest check partial file.
Latest check partial file.
Yeah. And I'll explain to you the difference. That call history file that we loaded before, that's specific to the contest. This one is encompasses all all contest activity. So it's a much bigger database, and I believe it just contains call signs. So we're going to download and install that. Okay, and there'll be a new one practically every day. Yeah, it's nagging me about that garbage. They'll fix that in the next update. So now I've got 2 big files that are going to help me work the contest. Now let's see, let's do one other. Under config, make sure your enter sends message is checked. Remember enter sends message, Don?
No.
Okay, I'll show you that when we get rolling here too. You want that one checked. If you want your CQ call to repeat automatically, you come down and you check this one, CQ repeat. And then you configure the time delay. I'm on a 1.7 second delay for a CQ repeat. So basically, if I hit CQ once, if I don't start typing something for a call sign, every 1.7 seconds, it's going to start again. Okay. So that, for the purposes of practice, those are really the only 2 you need. When we get to where we're working, and we're working on live in live contests, you're going to want some more. You're probably going to want everything I've got checked here. Enable call history lookup. You want that. Okay, so yeah, those couple will get you through the practice, and when you're using it in a contest, you can fool around with some of the others.
Leave that screen right there for a minute. I want to take a picture of it.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. So we pretty much have the system, with the exception of Morse Runner, we have N1MM ready to go to work. But now let's turn on some other windows. The next one you're going to want is check. This is where super check partial is a help. For example, if I start, see how it's narrowing down the database based on that partial call of what's possible. And it keeps narrowing it down more. And then boom. You know, if what I hear sounds like that, I'll go ahead and enter it. And notice the check mark. That confirms it's a good call sign. If I don't have the check mark, either the call sign I'm copying is not in the database, or I've miscopied it. So I like to keep the check window right here as close to the call sign entry as I can put it, because I'm going to be If I'm struggling, I'm gonna glance over there. Otherwise, I'm looking for that check mark. Okay? Now, here's where that the CQ Worldwide file history comes in. Spacebar, and his last exchange from the last contest, of course the 599 is a given, but his CQ zone per his last time he worked this contest was a 5. So all I did was spacebar from here to here, and I can spacebar back and forth. And if he's in the file history from the contest, I'll have his exchange, his last exchange. There's no guarantees, you know, especially winter field day, people change their categories all the time, or year to year. So anyway, it's a place to start. So let's go ahead and wipe that, and I'll stop here. Any questions so far? Good to go? Doug, you good to go?
I think I'm good to go.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead, a few more windows you may or may not. I like to have the log window open. This would be my log as I'm entering. Info. This keeps track of your last QSO, your rates, you know, if you want to see what kind of rates you're running, things like that. You may or may not want to look at it. You may not even want to think about it until after your run's over. And then the last one will be a score summary. And this basically, in real time, every time I log a contact, it'll count my logs, it will count my multipliers and those sorts of things, and keep track of, say if I'm doing a 10-minute run and I do 15 QSOs in that 10 minutes, well that's 15 Qs in 15 minutes, so 15 times 4. And that gives me an idea of my average run rate over that period of time. So this is really, for practice, this is what I like to have open. For real contests, I'll have other things open as well, but for practice, this is plenty. Of course, you can adjust your times or your words per minute. Have you guys ever fooled with your F key definitions?
Just
No.
started that and have it all fouled up. So
Okay. Well, you can always run back to the default and start over. Actually, you can come back here and go get the official one again and clean it up for you. But I fool with them. Randy and I have been working on some custom F key, not custom, but enhanced F key definitions for winter field day. But if you get into it, and what I did is I just right click on any F key, and this gets me to the programs behind each one. The ones in blue are for running. The ones in green are for search and pounce. And if you go back, they've stripped it out of this one, but if you go back to the default CW definitions, it'll give you a header that covers some of the basic shortcuts and abbreviations. For example, my call, this is your RST, exclamation mark, that's whatever is, it'll transmit whatever is in here with an exclamation mark. That's pretty much it for now. This is pretty simple, but if you do modify it for yourself, you can do either a save these. So if you want to rename it something you'll remember, you can save these messages to a different file, or if you want to just save it in the same function key as you brought up, you save right over it. Okay. So I guess we're ready to start the Morse Runner side of this.
This is a dumb question, but what you're going through here in Morse Runner, we would do in N1MM when we set it up.
Oh, yeah, these are the things you would do with
These are the things you do in N1MM, and you're just doing it in Morse Runner.
Well, no, this is N1MM.
Oh, that is N1MM. Okay.
Yeah, basically, this system, N1MM, the guys have programmed in the capability where N1MM will call Morse Runner, and it will use Morse Runner to create the activity.
Okay.
But it's still.
So I don't need to open Morse Runner?
No, nope. When we configure it, N1MM will go find it.
We'll find it. Okay.
Yep. And the difference between this and running Morse Runner standalone, this way with N1MM, Morse Runner will use the call history file from CQ Worldwide. It'll use that call list instead of the Morse Runner call list.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, this one, get a lot of DX call signs in it. It's pretty challenging. Number, letter, number kind of stuff. And in N1MM standalone, it's possible to modify that database. I've got one that's just North American calls that I use, but I don't think I'll ever go back to running Morse Runner standalone now. This is, this way. So if you look at Morse Runner, the F keys and functions they do don't line up. Where here we're going to be using the F keys just like we were in a contest. Same. F2, F3, they're the same.
Hang on, leave that screen there just for a second.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay.
All right, now let's go set up N1MM. So we're going to go config, and the top one, configure ports, mode control, WIN key, etc. And we want to go to the other.
This is when you connect it to the radio.
Right. And you'll see I've got my K4 set up here. So because I can, the same install of Morse Runner or N1MM can go back and forth from Morse Runner to a live contest. For a live contest, we're going to go to other, and we're going to come down here to Morse Runner mode. Click that box, and this is basically an on-off. If you're in the middle of a run and you just want to stop it, you can come back in here and uncheck this, and it'll stop Morse Runner in its tracks. So it's basically an on-off switch. When you turn it on, the first time you turn it on, it's actually going to go find and download and install Morse Runner for you. Once it's done that once, it'll be there, and it'll bring this guy up. And if you're familiar with Morse Runner already, you'll be familiar with this. This is actually setting up the Morse Runner behavior. So all the noise and lids and all that, your duration in minutes, your side tone, activity, that's the number of stations that will reply to a CQ. However, if you call CQ, if you have a pile up of 2 or 3, and you don't work any of them, and you call CQ again, that could mean 3 more on top of the 3 you have. So it'll stack them up until you work, basically unstack them and work them all. And then this is where it's going to get the actual CQ, what F1 does, and then the TU, what actually it transmits. So that's going to be here, CQ, and thank you for running. And this is all meant for running. It doesn't, that I have found, it doesn't support search and pounce practice. So once we got this the way we want it, start Morse Runner, and you'll hear the background noise, And it's not going to do a thing until we get into run mode and call CQ. Now that's kind of light. That's not correct, but we'll see.
BGB.
Yeah, it's a BGB.
Tell me about the yellow color that pops around to the different boxes.
That's a prompt. That's the next thing that's going to happen
Okay.
when I press the enter key.
Okay.
So it's going to, if I call F1 and I start typing, see, now I've got something in there. It's going to go to the exchange, and the alternative would be to reach up an F5 and send this call or partial call.
Mm-hmm.
So next one's going to be F2. And then I space over, and space bar is very important. And when we have the class, like a three indoor or 3 outdoor plus his section, it'll actually, a space will go here to here to here and circle back. So being able to quickly get back to or get forward to a data field that we need to do something with, spacebar and enter key are really used heavily. Then of course, log it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and I'll let you guys get yours going, and I'll stop my share. And if you want to go ahead and share yours, Don or Doug, and we'll see if you're running properly or not. Does that sound good?
Yeah, go ahead, Don.
You need a little more time to get set up, Don?
Oh yeah, I don't know that I'll be able to do it here while I'm watching you. I'll probably do it later. I'll probably take in all I can here. I don't think it's going to take me longer than you can imagine.
Yeah, I see Jack's in there too. How you doing, Jack? Okay, Doug.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute quick enough. How y'all doing?
Doing good. Good to have you in here. I am recording this session. I agreed to share half my royalties with Don, so you're going to have to talk to Don if you want anything out of it.
I'll give you half of what Dennis gives me.
All right.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a good idea to save this, because there'll be other people that are going to want to see it down the road. Doug, you want to go ahead and see if you're working and share your screen?
Okay, let me unmute here. All right, and hopefully you're seeing the big word Zoom.
Yep, that's what I see.
All right. All right. For the moment, I'm not going to enable the Morse Runner mode.
That's fine.
Not sure what all I'm seeing here, but have some items up. Looks like I have the CQ Worldwide Morse Runner practice session database open.
Had you done that before?
Yes. Not sure what this orange box is. Please move this window away from the shared application.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that. Can you maybe minimize that browser? I think the browser's on top of it for me.
Any better now, or?
All I've got's a gray box. If what you're sharing, that's just a gray box.
All right, let's find out here.
Glad we're recording this.
Any better now? Yeah, no.
No, I think you grabbed the wrong window when you shared. You want to share full screen.
Let's try it again.
There we go. Yep, that's your log.
Yeah, for some reason it's breaking my window down into individual components.
Oh, you mean your share?
Yeah, when I push share, it's only giving me certain choices of windows.
I believe the upper left-hand option is a full screen. No matter what it's showing you in the preview, I think it's full screen.
Well, wish I could be more help there. Let's see if I can exit full view.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at the, when I click on share screen, upper left, I get a selection called screen. And then a bunch of other ones that are individual components of the screen, but the one that says screen, if you have that.
I have view.
I don't know.
So are you talking on Zoom, or are you talking about the desktop?
On Zoom, yeah. If you come down and click on the share screen button, the green share screen button, and you'll have a select a window or an application that you want to share. And then at least for me, the first selection upper left hand says screen for mine.
All right, I'm gonna try that one.
There you go.
All right. So are you seeing multiple windows?
I see what looks like your entire screen. It looks like you've got some version notes over here on the right hand side. You got a malware bytes tag going. Then I see your log. I see your score summary, your check window, and your entry window. And that must be
Okay, very good.
Jane jogging on the beach.
That's Jane jogging on the beach.
Okay. Yeah, she
Ray's just off screen to the left. Okay.
So yeah, we see it all.
All right. So I've got this basically going, and I understand how I can change the function keys and so forth and play with that. My problem, I think, might run into the configure screen, and I'm hoping to get a little help with this. So I have some cat control, but when I attempt to do certain things in the with the F keys, I get an error message. So I'll draw your attention first of all to the hardware setup.
Okay,
And
let me ask you this before you go any further. When you move the VFO dial on your radio, does it change the value of the frequency in the N1MM entry table?
let's find out.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And if I hit 40 meters, it changes the radio to 40 meters. Yes.
Okay, so you have cat control. You probably, go back to that config screen.
And I'll show you this just before I do that. Now you can see the error I'm getting. Okay, all right. You're probably familiar with all of this.
Yep, you got it. Now that IP port, it, I use something similar so I can get the IQ data in for the spectrum window. If that's the IP address of your radio as well as the port.
That's totally made up right there. I was fishing for this last night, so it was blank before I put this information in here.
Okay, then I don't know that you need that. Do you have an Ethernet connection between your radio and your computer?
Nope, just a USB cable.
Okay, then it's not going to use that. Go ahead, you've got the CW check is correct. Go ahead and go to the set. Yep. Now, it's probably, and it's going to be specific to your radio, so you probably have to go out and dig on the internet to find out how Kenwood does that. But if you're going to be able to run without a WinKeyer, you'll be using the DTR pin. Well, on a K4, the DTR pin is CW, the RTS is push to talk. So you can try different things there. I say it just depends.
Okay.
How it works with that rig.
I won't waste your time
I'll go ahead and
trying to see if it works, but we'll. Well, that's the first time I haven't gotten an error. All right.
Okay.
All right, so I'm not getting anything happening here.
Okay, let me.
That's probably just settings that I have there.
Yeah, that's radio specific.
But we made the first step. We're no longer getting the error.
Yep.
So,
Which tells me it probably wants to use DTR and RTS. You just have to configure them for what the Kenwood expects.
right, exactly. Okay, I will dig around and find that. We're close, so
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we
You're
may
close.
probably be looking.
Once you get that, the last piece of the puzzle, go ahead. Is your radio on? You have stuff in the waterfall?
So that's the other problem. I couldn't get my waterfall to play through. Let's see if I can.
Yep, Spectrum display.
You to see that on the screen at the bottom.
Yeah, I see the lost communication with the radio too.
This is where I've struggled right here. Is getting it to.
Yeah, if well, there's a couple of ifs that all got to be answered yes. If the Kenwood multiplexes that data across the USB where N1MM can pick it off and use it, and then if you've got the spectrum scope itself set up to get it. So the first question is the radio capable of providing the data? For example, the Yaesus are not. The 710, the DX10, the 991A, or none of those provide the data. Where the ICOMs, the 705, the 7300, and the 7610 all provide that data.
Interesting. Okay.
And the K4 actually has to run Ethernet through a router, and that's where you had that ISP address.
Right.
And port, that's where I have to set that up to get it to come through on the K4. So yeah, if you probably can find a good YouTube on connecting your radio to N1MM, it should cover it nuts to soup for you.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Wouldn't there be a pretty detailed website for connecting N1MM to different radios? I know there is for WSJT-X, There's
Yeah.
lots of information on how to connect it to your radio.
Well, yes, there is. The N1MM Plus has a searchable manual on their website that you can download, or I wouldn't print it, things like 3 inches thick.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they have a lot of notes in there about rigs. And searching the N1MM Plus Groups IO is another good resource
hmm
to dig those.
I found some really good YouTubes, K0PIR. I think he does mostly icon stuff, and it's really detailed. It's everything you need to know there. And I was thinking there was probably somebody like that or something like that on YouTube for the Yaesu radios.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the Yaesu I know won't supply the spectrum scope data because I asked a couple of contesters who had just bought the new 710s and they said no, won't do it. But you need a Kenwood contester there, Doug. He's out there.
Yeah, he's out there.
Okay.
I'd look on YouTube.
Actually, if I'll just look here real quick. What
Because the
Kenwood is that?
TS590 is really popular.
Yeah, I'll find it, work on it. I was taking the lazy way out this evening, and it was going to loaf along, and hopefully you were going to give me the magic answer. But
Well, the
I'll
magic
find
answer is I haven't owned a Kenwood yet.
it. Right.
I can tell you about icons. I can tell you about Flex. I can tell you about the capital E yellow crafts, but there's guys out there running them. So
Yeah.
but you're good on your Morse Runner practice. That's running for you.
Yeah, the Morse Runner is doing that. I'll pull it back up here. I don't think you're going to be able to see me share. Let me try that again. Sharing screen. And so I think you told me I go to Window,
Yeah, go to config. Go to config.
Config. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And other.
Morse Runner. Then I get the screen we talked about.
Yeah.
I can start Morse Runner. I think I'll run into the same problem here as well.
Well, go ahead and go into run mode. That's going to play over the speakers. It's not going to send any of that to the radio. You can turn the radio off.
Okay.
I run this exact same practice setup at work with no radio at all.
So again, here I get.
I don't think you're running. I don't think you don't have any background noise, do you?
No.
I don't think Morse Runner is running.
And I actually had this working, and I started playing with the radio configurations, and I apparently have lost my Morse Runner capability now as well.
No,
So.
you shouldn't have. Let's go back to config. It should be totally independent of a radio.
Other Morse Runner mode is checked.
Check it off and then back on again.
Back on. Here we go.
And then hit start Morse Runner.
Yeah, I don't believe you did that last time, Doug.
So you have some background noise.
Bear with me. Just checking to see speaker configuration.
Yeah,
There you go.
There you go. Yep. Yep. Press CQ and prepare to copy.
Nobody heard you.
O2. Oops. O2R.
W2AEZ.
Yep, just hit your enter key. Do an F2 there, Doug. You didn't send your exchange to him.
All right.
W2AR, W2AR.
W2RZ, wasn't it?
Are you hearing me send?
You're right, RZ. W2RZ. Go ahead and space over and hit enter.
And then hit enter.
Yep. Did it send a thank you?
It's sending now.
Okay, all right, it's a little light. Yeah, when it's, it's just like your radio, your monitor is going to be a lot lower than what you hear from another station.
Right.
So yeah, it's basically.
I do another one, and let's watch how these yellow highlights pop around, because that should be the sequence of the F2 functions.
Right. So and they change whether you're in run or search and pounds.
Yeah, let's do run again.
So here we go. Sending CQ. And for the moment, I'm just going to try to press enter and see what happens.
KGOQRQ.
KG0. KG0.
RQ, I believe.
Yeah, RQ. AQ. AQ, Doug.
Okay, you got enough of his call sign that he came back.
Okay, so then see where the highlights are there. Is he done? Because it goes to thank you.
Yep.
So this is the other's eye sending. I'll press enter.
As soon as you hear his 4.
So it's pretty much enter if you like what you're seeing highlighted in yellow, isn't it?
Absolutely. And if you have and the
did you
space
say
bar to
enter?
maneuver with.
Did you say enter or the space bar or the tab key all work the same?
No, they don't. The enter is going to chase the amber highlight.
Okay.
And when you start entering, for example, Doug, just start entering a, yeah, keep it going. So just start entering a call sign. Just start entering a call sign. Keep going. Okay, so you got enough of a call sign. See how the yellow hint shifted? And basically, yeah, go ahead and put W6BF in there. Okay, now you'll notice you got exchange or F5 his call. But you still have a question mark in the call sign, so that's an incomplete call. So if you want to go back with that partial call and have him come back and repeat his call, provided that's enough of a partial that he'll come back to it, you would use an F5. And that would mean pressing the F5 because enter is going to want to do an F2.
Okay, so if I just want to send this question mark, W6BF question mark.
Well, the question mark isn't going to send. If you want to add a question mark to that, go ahead and type it in there. Go ahead and
Okay,
do that.
or I just press the F5.
Yep.
And of course, nothing's happening here. All right, so there I actually had to mouse it. I couldn't use my F button.
Okay, that's, you got something going on with your F keys then, because it should.
Okay.
So you went back with a partial call. I'll come back with my full call probably twice, so you can clean up the call sign.
Right.
And then you'd hit enter, which is going to send W6BFK, and notice you got the check. So your enter right now will send W6BFK followed by the exchange.
Let's see what happens.
Okay, and then you'll notice when it completed that, it populated the exchange. Now you're waiting to hear his 599 and 3. As soon as you hear his 3, notice the thank you is highlighted. All you have to do is hit enter again.
No, boy.
You got them stacked up now. Go ahead and try, send an F4. Send an F4.
Send an F4.
I'm sorry, send an F5.
Yeah, it didn't send anything.
Well, there's nothing in the call sign
So
window.
had I left it this way,
I could pick out a number and a couple letters, and if you just put a number and a couple letters in there, and then hit his call, it would send that, wouldn't it? And then that only that guy might come back.
I think it did here.
Oh, OD.
OD, yep. I don't think that's right. He's a K0 OD. Okay, just hit your enter. Just hit enter. Okay, now hit your enter. Enter.
So the question mark will stay there if it's not in the database.
Yeah, and sometimes that'll fool you too. You have to enter what you hear. That's just a help.
Okay.
All right. Well, that'll give you, Don, that'll give you something to play with. I got to figure out my configurations, but this is great practice.
Yeah, I can use Morse Runner. I just have never integrated it with N1MM. And after we get off here, I might start to try to do that. And I do it all. I do it all from N1MM. I don't even need to open up Morse Runner, do I?
No. Yeah, when you go and start it under the configure window, N1MM will present Morse Runner settings to you to modify them. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it takes care of it.
Yeah. Well, I think the first part of your telecast is tonight You were right in there, opening up the window page and opening up tools and different things. And I really didn't know what we were doing there. So I wrote down as much of that as I could. But that's where you set up N1MM and get it working with Morse Runner, isn't it? All that
Yeah,
stuff.
well,
Yeah.
we went from basically you've just installed N1MM
Yeah.
and we got the basic configuration, everything but the radio.
Yeah.
And then we substituted Morse Runner for a radio.
Mm-hmm. Well, I might not have gotten it written down everything I need, but I can, it'll be enough to get started for sure.
Okay, this meeting room is open all the time, Don.
Oh,
So if you need some help tomorrow, if you go into this room, I'll get a notification email that you're in there. And if I'm by my computer, I'll drop in on you.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, it's like telemedicine.
Never quit working.
Well, I'm in front of a computer all day anyway.
Are you?
It's no big deal.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you have a little trouble, need a little help, it's easier to do it by looking at each other's screens than anything.
I agree. Yeah, that was very helpful.
Okay.
I have a question.
It's too bad Morse Runner doesn't have Morse Runner S&P, or you know, that it would do both of them. Because I get Morse Runner. I know I can, you know, and that's pretty complementary to N1MM. I mean, it basically is N1MM on a run.
Well, it is, but the F keys are different.
Okay.
You know,
Well,
like,
once I get N1MM set up, I can see what the differences are there.
yeah, using N1MM is the best practice because we'll be using exactly the same F keys for the same messages as we will on live contacts. Morse Runner, I mean, it's very good, but it doesn't really close the deal as far as using the correct F key definition.
Okay. That's a good reason for me to have get set up N1MM, because I'll see those F keys. The other thing that Tom Chance, you and I and he were, I think the three of us back there at the table, and he was showing you how on the right-hand side of the screen, there'd be a band map or whatever you call that, everybody that's on. And so if you're in search and pounce mode, all you have to do is click on any of those calls and it automatically, puts N1MM on the track.
Mm-hmm.
That is really cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Will that be something that will be set up or not? You don't know.
Yes, it provided we can get a connection with a hotspot that should be available at Winter Field Day. That's okay. And next Tuesday, which that N1M session will be for all the operators, not just CW. And that'll be basically an orientation to all the windows, how they're set up, what they do, what they mean. And that's when I'll introduce band map and the available multipliers window and how to use the control up arrow, control down arrow to search and pounce your way through spots, and how to control Q when that dries up and you want to go back to running. Control Q will take you back to your CQ frequency, and you can drop right into run mode again. So that's what these guys do. They'll run until things slow down, and that's why they keep that info window open. When they see the rates dropping, then they'll switch to search and pounce, and they'll start working their way up and down the band map, working spots. When they've cleaned that up, then they'll go right back to running. That's how they can run. That's how they can keep a 75, 80, 90 QSOs an hour for hours on end, an average run rate like that. And I think Tom said he could search and pounce with spotting in a good contest. He can work 160 rate on search and pounce.
Wow.
Yep. So we'll go over that next Tuesday. Say, Don, if you have any trouble, Doug, if you have any trouble, just drop in the CW sandbox. I'll get a notification, and if I can, I'll meet you there, and we'll work through it.
So CW sandbox, You know, would I just click on this Zoom link that we used tonight, or where do you go for that?
Let me look. The one for tonight. Let me look. Okay, yeah, we're in CARS meeting A. Let me see here. Yeah, that is meeting ID 853-365-03732. And passcode 500894. That's actually CARS meeting room A. It's a perpetual room that we're going to continue to add more and more blocks of workshops and whatnot, but the room itself pretty much stays open 24/7 every day of the week, every day of the year. So we can do a quick, drop in. I'll get a notification and drop in and see what you need. And we use this for these types of things. We also do some basic send and receive practice with the guys that are learning. We do that on Wednesday nights. And I think in February, Doug, if you can whip the troops, we'll probably fill a pretty good calendar of activity in this.
Yeah, I think so. In fact, when you're done this evening, once we've wrapped up here, I'll share a screen and let me make sure I'm getting this set up the way you want. But we'll talk about that offline.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I went back to your email inviting us to this meeting, and it shows that passcode 500-894, and above it, the meeting ID, I think is the one you read out, 853-3650-3732.
Yeah. That's a
And so then a couple lines below that is a link, a blue link, and that's what I clicked on, and it brought up this Zoom meeting that we're in now. So, well, is that the same one that would be CARS meeting room A?
Yes, it is, until we change it, and I'm not planning on changing it, at least for the rest
Okay,
of this month.
okay.
It's persistent credentials in a standing meeting.
Okay. So,
See,
Dennis, I have a question.
Sure, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.